Season 6 of Franchise Canada Chats is brought to you by the Franchise Growth Lab. When we fail to scale, we limit our ability to leave a mark. Franchises in this country don't have a startup problem, they have a scale-up problem. We can count on one hand how many founders and franchise systems have achieved the 100-unit mark in the last 10 years. At Franchise Growth Lab, we know the right way to scale, and seeing your brand make a bigger impact is what ignites us. Check us out on LinkedIn or go to franchisegrowthlab.com and sign up to receive a free copy of the 10 Habits of Best-in-Class Franchisors.
On today's episode of Franchise Canada Chats, we are focusing on female leaders in franchising. And Patrick had a chance to sit down with Anike Belanger, a Days Inn franchisee, and Real Property Management's president, Carla Brown. Patrick, what did we learn today?
Yeah, thanks, Travis. Today we ended up talking a lot about community, both in the sense of how to be very active in your community as a whole, as well as taking advantage of the franchise community for support. So it was a great chat, and enjoyed talking to both Carla and Anike, and I hope you guys enjoyed as well. All right, Anike, Carla, thank you guys so much for taking some time out and joining us today on Franchise Canada Chats. And as usual, we're just going to dive right into it. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your guys' experience in franchising and how you got to where you're at. And Carla, I think we're going to go in alphabetical order today. So Anike's up first. She might be used to that.
Sounds good. Okay, so I know franchise since maybe 15 years, much more since I'm a GM now, but I've known franchisees longer than this time because when my dad bought the hotel, he changed it already for a Days Inn. So I've been with the brand minding since a long time. So, and more since 15 years. And I've also worked with other brands because I was a consultant before for other hotels. So I've learned a little bit about every brand, every franchise. So yeah, it's a little bit my background. So it's been 26 years now since I've been with Days Inn brand. So yeah, it's been a lot of experience. And what I like the most about a brand or a franchise, it's the fact that you can learn so much, but also give feedback to others. So with the other GM, with the owners, with the head office, so you can learn a lot, but you can also give back. So it's what I like the most about like the brand industry. So you're not alone. And there's a big help from the head office, especially in Days in Canada.
Absolutely. I think in franchising, it has a really big community aspect, not just in the community of the brand and learning from each other, but also giving back and getting involved in the community itself, which I know you guys have done a lot there, and we're definitely going to dive into that because I'm really interested in some of the initiatives. So Carla, how about you? How did you find yourself in franchising?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll make myself sound older because I think I've been around the franchise world for just about 29 years now. So I'm 3 years older than Anike. But I too also was introduced to the franchising world from family member, from my uncle. About going back to, I guess, 1993, he at the time owned Century 21 office in my marketplace, and they were looking for some office help. And I was quite young. I needed a job. I thought I had some experience, so I went in and applied for this office job. And I didn't tell the office manager that I was related to the owner, because I didn't want to get the job because he was my uncle. I wanted to get the job because of me. So he hired me, but he was not happy when he found out that I was actually the owner's niece. So I had to really prove myself, I felt, for a while there. In the end, we were fabulous friends, and he gave me the highest recommendation when he left that company and whatnot. So it all worked out. But that was my introduction into the franchise world. And I think I did pretty much every role in that particular Century 21 office as going through for about 12 years. Of working with them. And then I actually became a franchise owner of that brand with a number of partners.
And then on to the purchase of the real property management franchise after that. And then I guess it was 2019 where I saw the franchise. So now I've only been operating as a franchisee this time. And I saw the franchise itself that really could use some assistance. So I thought I could help them. So I offered to do some help with them. They hired me on in kind of a part-time role. And I worked with them for about 2.5 years. And then now somehow I lead the brand as the president of real property management in Canada for the last 6 months. So kind of blinked and all that happened, but I still have my franchise here in Saskatoon as well. And I think that really helps me, similar to Anike, because I can tell that she's in the business as well. And that really keeps me really in tune with what's happening with my local offices, kind of keeps me honest as I'm starting to do more with the brand. So I actually really love both aspects of the franchise world, both from a franchisee and working as leading the brand with the franchisor.
I like what you're saying about your very first job in franchising. You sort of did everything, a little bit of everything. And I think that's the same story as most franchise partners I talk to. When you start off and starting your franchise, you are the CEO, janitor, and everything in between, and you figure it out.
Right. And if you hire someone and that doesn't work out, if you fire them, you actually just got another job. So
Exactly.
You have a lot of moving parts at all times.
And it's funny, we know this, yet we like it.
Right.
We continue in franchising. It's part of the fun.
Yeah, we love it.
So Anike, you had a lot of experience in the hospitality industry. You had some experience in franchising, and like you say, you liked it so much you had to start your own. And when you were looking at the benefits of joining a system, what stood out to you?
What do you mean?
The benefits of franchising. I mean, you joined a pretty powerful brand. I mean, I'm sure in many industries, some people think, well, maybe I could do this on my own. Maybe I could start my own hotel or my own service business instead of joining such a strong brand. You went down the brand route. How come?
Well, 26 years ago, when my dad decided to buy the hotel, it was an independent hotel, but he used to work with Days Inn Canada, DMS, and Real Star, and he knew the brand. He knew that this brand will be good for our markets, what we wanted to reach here, because it's, depend on hotels, depend where it's located. It's not all the same markets, but Days Inn brand fit right to the markets that we want to explore. And since 26 years, the brand has grown a lot, has become stronger. And, it's of course, it's money, when you join a brand. But at the end, you have a lot of help from the head office, but also just the central reservation fact, just the PMS system, which, all the OTA just come together in once, except, when you're independent, you need to manage all those sites independently. So it's a lot of work. And also you've got special rates for vendors. You have also a kind of standard all around the brand that guests expect from each hotel to have. So it's recognition. Yeah, so people see a brand, they relate to, they know what to expect. Instead of sometimes independent, you don't know what you're going to get, you don't know what to expect. And you can be really popular in your province, but in Canada or United States, you need to have this kind of standard, this kind of the people going to know what they're looking for. And also, like the team in the head office is just amazing. You have marketing people helping you if you have you missing times. You have salespeople who's going to go and give you business that you maybe don't get the time because you have a lot of work with human resources. So yeah, you have a lot of help from the head office. So which is, I think, joining a brand, it's all those things together that you can have the help that you need when you need it. And yeah, I've been working with a lot of brands, and I have to say that Days in Canada, for me, it's one of the strongest because they also understand your market.
Mhm.
You know, they can understand each hotel's market and reality. And so we have a certain power of what we want to do also, and still be who we are as an hotel. So not independent, but with the value that we have, and also the essence that we have. So I think it's a good brand for that. And yeah, just come to the sales parts, the central reservation, all the things you're gonna get that you can't get from independent hotel because you don't have the power to be a lot of hotels together. And sometimes, yeah, like good price for vendors, which we like to shop around the block, but sometimes it can be good to have good price for like mattresses or amenities and all this stuff. So yeah, I think
Absolutely.
it's a good point to be joining a brand for all those matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I took from that is really the power of the brand is the systems and the processes. Like, you get a level up there. You mentioned the buying power, you get a level up there. There's that brand consistency factor. And then also that support, going back to what we were talking about earlier, that community of support that, I always like to say that as a franchise partner, is as much as you can have a great support network at home with friends and family and loved ones, no one truly understands the ups and downs you're going through than the other partners, right? They get it. So having sometimes that person to lean on, the person that's been through it before, a couple of years ahead of you, same time, it's huge to have that.
Yeah, it's huge. And also, since the 2 years that we passed, the 2 years of pandemic, I mean, having a brand, having like a team in Toronto, like calling us sometimes and saying, guys, how are you? Are you okay? Do you need something? Do you need help for anything? It's just like, okay, great. We have this kind of support. So it's a plus.
Even in the cases, I think the last 2 years, a perfect example, we may not have the answers, but just knowing that you're in this together and everybody's working, trying to figure it out, that alone is huge.
Yeah. Anike said something else, I think that was really, that really stood out for me when she started on this particular question, was that her dad came in and bought this business, but he knew what he wanted to accomplish. He knew what the market was. So, and I think that's really important as when someone gets involved with a franchise, that the franchise brand gives you all of this support. And like you said, the systems and the processes and all of these tools, but you as the franchisee have to have a bit of a vision too, and understand who is going to be your customer, right? Who is your target? So I thought that was really important because he obviously has been very successful because he knew who he was, and he knew where he wanted to go, and he knew this brand could really get him there. So I think that's pretty magical when you put that all together.
Totally agree. Carla, tell me a little bit about community involvement in franchising. Community is so key in getting out there in meeting with your community and creating those connections. It's such a huge part. What does that mean to you in your market?
Yeah, so this I think is probably the most important thing that a franchisee needs to understand in order to be successful. A franchise can bring you all those things we just talked about, but you are actually the local business owner, and you are actually having to get into this local market. You support local businesses in your market, you hire local staff, you have local clients. So people don't get this. So I think we can actually talk about this for a long time, quite honestly, because unless you really get out and start getting to know who's in your community, because you're really asking them to support you. That's really what you want when you open up your doors, your local business. So creating the connections really allows you, I think, to champion others in your community. And then quite frankly, they will start to support you. So it's a formula that I think I talk a lot about to my franchisees, and it's visibility plus credibility equals profitability. And that's what we all want. That's the definition of success when you buy a franchise. I mean, we want to be profitable, right? We may as well not like hide behind that. We want our franchisees to be profitable, and that's why they got involved with us. So this is where I think also the best relationships can be formed when you get out in your community and start having that community involvement, because people in the community are often building these businesses as well, and they're going through the same challenges that you are. So although you're going to rely on your franchise community, because we refer to that as well a lot, or that power of the franchise community, your local community is also going to give you a lot of really great relationships. And not only is it super important, it's probably the most fulfilling thing you'll do as a franchisee, because it can be lonely sometimes. So getting out and start talking in your community really, I think, can bring you some energy and motivation and inspiration, and making you feel like, hey, just Joe down the street who has that coffee shop, or Anike who's working in the Days Inn, they're going through the same things as I'm going through. And especially when the pandemic hit, right? Because a lot of us, we had no idea how this was going to impact our businesses, and we got employees that we're worried about. So nobody at home really might understand that piece. So using your franchise community as well as your local community, I think, is vitally important to success.
Absolutely agree. I won't mention the big business brand, but I saw this sign not too long ago saying, support local. Big brand is not going to support your kid's softball team.
Yeah.
Right. And so in franchising, I think you're right. As a franchise partner, one of your jobs is to get out there and show that you're part of the community and you're willing to give back to the community. And what you'll find is the community is more than willing to support you.
Yeah, and there's a misconception. I mean, I'm sure you run into this as well, Anike, where people think that Days Inn is just this great big corporation. They just like some of our listeners that are here today are trying to learn more about franchising. There's a lot of people who don't understand that a franchise is a local business. Yeah. They've committed, they've invested in the community, and they are really trying to service all those that are in the community as well. So it's something I don't think we can do enough education on. We have to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right. We had this kind of maybe 20 years ago, people thought that, like Days Inn was owned by like a big company somewhere. And since then, we've been investing in the community since we bought the hotels, and I'm all the committees and all the organization, and we give back, and we do our best to promote the city too. And people realize that it's a brand, it's a name, but it's local people, it's people who stay in our town who owns the business. So, and I realized that with the pandemic, because like everybody been hit like we never thought we will. But when I saw that, we were coming back with like the shower for the truck drivers and all this stuff, and all the truck drivers were stopping and say, you always been there for us, so now it's your turn, and they stopped for sleep and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's, sometimes you don't realize what you do, like small things, details, but at the end, it's going to pay back. And this time we were really happy that it's payback, because, it's like, okay, please help us. But yeah, you're so right, Carla, when you say you need to be in your community, you need to invest yourself, yes, with money, but also with times, go around, go see like local plays. And it's why I'm talking about, prefer vendor as a great stuff with the brand. But for us, it's not like we used to, because we really, really local. So I'm going to buy it, I'm going to buy my bread from like the bakery. We're going to buy the stuff around. So, we help them, they help us, and it's, giving forward, and everybody knows each other. And so I know that when they need a place to stay, or for friends or corporate, I know that they're going to think about me, because they know also the person, so not just the hotel. And you're so right when you say to people, go in your community, know them, talk with them. And it's especially in small town, it's really easy to, create good friendship also. So it's one of the main point. But I think that any business, especially hotels, you need to be invest in local business too. So yeah.
See, Patrick, I told you we could go on and on about this one for a long time because it's like, and I will tell you that I have had people come to us as prospective franchisees who want to know how are we going to drive all the leads to them. And definitely, I mean, brand credibility is a big thing in the franchise that you're going to choose. But it is really about you as that local business owner getting out into the community. That is where the magic in business development really happens. And I'm with you, Anike. I mean, I'm all about preferred vendors on a national level that can do like major cost savings for our franchise partners. But there are certain parts of the business that you need to go out and get local vendors as your preferred vendors, because you need to be giving to them. You need to be supporting them. That is part of the success equation for sure.
Yeah, I always say that, your job as a franchise partner is to really grow the grassroots. As a franchisor, we're going to give you some of the tools, we're going to give you the marketing material, but we can't replace you getting out there. And I always say, knocking on doors, shaking hands, kissing babies. You got to get out there and meet and be part of that community.
Yeah. So true.
I'm really interested, Anike, one of the ways that you're being part of the community now. I'm a big F1 fan, so I'm a big racing fan. So you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff with a very young racer who's showing a lot of promise. So Marie-Soleil Labelle, can you tell me a little bit about that partnership?
It came everybody asked me the same question. Why you decide to, partnership with Marie-Soleil? She doesn't come from Berthierville. She lived like 2 hours from Berthierville. So, but it was just so natural. She came here about 2 years ago because she's 18 years old now, but she's the biggest fan of Gilles Villeneuve, which is really amazing because she never knew him. She never saw him race, but yet she's a fan of Gilles Villeneuve, and she wanted to go to the museum, which is about 5 minutes walking distance from the hotel. And she said to her dad, I want to race for the Gilles Villeneuve Museum team. So he said, okay, we're going to figure it out how to do that. And then she came with her dad, staying at the hotel because we have an agreement with the museum also. And we just met. She loved the hotel. She loved the value. She loved the fact that we were two like young women driving the hotel. And she just looked around and she said, I feel like I'm home and I want to do something with you guys. I'm like, okay, we're in the pandemic, so we don't have any money. So I'm sorry to say that. But yeah, we talked and she was just so amazing. She's so smart. She's doing like a double university stuff because we don't have the same in Quebec. Like she passed through, which in Quebec, we need to understand what we have: high school, we have college, and we have uni. For you guys, you have high school and you have uni. So, okay. And she went through high school to uni all the way like that. She's doing like 2 university courses. She's amazing. She's smart. And so, yeah, at the start of this year, her dad talked to us and said, would you like to be a partner with her? And I say, yeah, now it's time. Now it's time to have a partnership with her. So yeah, she's like a speaker for us, but we need to know that there's like a 3-part partnership with her. So there's a part for the racing. So we give her money for the race. So we're one of the sponsors, but we have to know that Mary's got, I need to read it down because she's got a language development disorder. So it's like a neurological thing. She's born with that. So sometimes she doesn't understand what we say. Sometimes she's having a hard time to say what she wants to say. And the fact is that there's a lot of people like that, a little bit like autism, a little bit like Down disease and all this stuff. And she was like, that people my age with my condition don't really get jobs. And I'm like, okay, what can we do about that? So I said, I'm going to give you your first job too. So you're going to start at the hotel working when you have time, no competition and all this stuff. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to do like education videos for all the industry, all the businesses, how to hire someone with this disorder, how to train them, and how to make sure that they can develop in their business and be confident. So we're working on this project because in probably a month and a half, we're gonna have a full videos training for business owner, GM, manager, to say, okay, you have a person with this disorder, you can hire them. They're really good people, they're good worker, they're gonna be there, but they have challenge. So now how you can adapt your business to that. So it's a 3-part thing with her because she deserves to have this kind of work and to be able to work, but also all those people. And we're short staff everywhere. So we need to adapt our business and try to figure out how we can adapt the job, how we can adapt ourselves to make sure that those people can have the same work experience, be equal and not judge. So it's like a 3-part partnership with her, and it's going to be for 2 years. And so we want to make sure that we have like training stuff that it's going to be easy for manager, because we don't have time to read like 45 pages of what to do, not to do. So we're just going to do like small and short video with facts. What you need to do, don't do that, for like interview, training, follow up, and with really, really key words. And hopefully 2, 3, 4 businesses will hire this kind of person to make sure that they are equal and, can work like everybody else. So yeah, it's a big, amazing experience with this person, because she's like a fresh air after those 2 years of like not knowing. It's like it's amazing working with her, and she's really good. She's the youngest, actually. She's the youngest driver, and she's a woman. So we need to,
I was going to say, it sounds like a great opportunity because she sounds like clearly a very dynamic woman, and you get to support her in her racing endeavors, and she gets to help you guys out as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a win-win for everybody. I think that, especially in our industry, we need to change some thinking, and we need to adapt more and more. And, I have an autism person working for me since 2 years. She's amazing. We adapt the work, but she's amazing. So why don't we just adapt a little bit of things? Yes, be patient. Yes, put more times. But at the end, those people are going to stay with you for like how many years? So, and they want to work there. So I think that it's a good move to do that. And with Mary, we're going to have this kind of driving too. And it's going to be amazing. So yeah, she's amazing.
It sounds like an awesome program. All right, Carla, tell me a little bit about, now correct me if I'm wrong, I was doing some social stalking and checking out your bio, and you started in real estate, right? We were talking a little bit about Century 21. Why the shift? You went from the real estate into the property management. What brought that on in joining real property management?
Yeah. On the Century 21 side, I was always on the operational side for sure. So that's part of it. But I do find most of our most people who look at this business, at real property management right now, usually are people who want to open a business, but have a real keen for investment real estate. So I will say that my entry into real property management is quite different. So in 2013, I was the managing owner with partners in our Century 21 office. And the founder, or not founder, but franchisor of Real Property Management, who happens to be Gary Charlwood, so people in the CFA organization will know that name because he was just awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award last month. And he is like one of the most amazing individuals you'll ever meet. But he had recently purchased the master franchise rights to Real Property Management in Canada. So my 20 years prior working in the Century 21 system in one capacity or another, and now as a franchisee, I really saw that there was a need for service-based client experience, professional property management. I don't know how else to really word that, but, and we would just get all of these inquiries into our office. So I convinced, and literally convinced my partners at the time that we should get involved with this new franchise, Real Property Management. I thought there was such synergy between the real estate brand and the property management brand. And we also had a mortgage brokerage brand at that time. So the three of them, there's like, people need all of these services in the home journey, right? So I convinced them that we should get involved, and they were reluctant, but they agreed as long as they didn't have to run it. So I'm like, I'm always up for a challenge. Let me at it, right? So no problem. I'll get in there, and now I'll run both of these. And I really honestly did think that the transition and working with a real estate brand and the property management company would be really easy. But I discovered that they are two different beasts. So the business models for success were quite different. And luckily, I figured this out pretty early on. But it was primarily from the people perspective, and that now as a property management company, you had two sets of clients. You had investors and you had residents or tenants, and that you had to balance that relationship month after month after month. So it became very much of a long-term, high-touch relationship, which is very different than the real estate brand, which is very relationship based, don't get me wrong. But if you, as a seller or a buyer in real estate, as an agent, you're working with one or the other usually, and it's a short term, you're done. And then, until they need those services again, 5 years down the road, besides sending out some newsletters and sending them a Christmas card, you probably don't have a lot of touch with them. So there's a lot of moving parts in the property management business. So this is where I realized that whole systems and processes, which was so integral to what I knew on the Century 21 side, it became vitally important in the property management business. So I just started implementing them in my business here in Saskatoon. And it became my passion. Like, how do we improve the client experience? How do we make that communication better for a tenant? How do we make sure that the owner knows what's going on? How do we make sure that maintenance can be fine-tuned? And I really wanted to stand out in Saskatoon, I think, which I think as a business owner, most people do, right? So now I think we fine-tuned the processes and systems, and we probably still fine-tune from day to day, but we figured out technology, which is a big part of our franchise now, and the marketing in order to support. So this became like this whole list of solutions that now I feel we had to lead the industry and really redefine the way people thought about property management in Saskatoon. And that's really what I was trying to accomplish when I got in. And then going back to Century 21, because you brought that to it. In 2016, I kind of stepped away from the Century 21 brand because I realized how much work I needed to put into the property management business. I couldn't focus on both of them and become successful as a startup. So I really, really, really had to. So that's where, again, and I don't know if this applies in your business too, Anike, but people sometimes think they can kind of do this on the side. It's really hard to do it on the side and be successful until you really put it all in and all your eggs are in this basket, so to speak, and you're really focusing. That's when I think we've seen the franchises see the most success. So now I think we offer a new franchise anywhere in Canada, all these proven solutions that can really alleviate a lot of the pain points that our investors have, and a lot of property management companies are probably facing right now. And it wasn't without me kind of failing on a few things along the way. I'll be completely honest, who doesn't, right? But I always believe in that fail forward mentality. So luckily for me, that's where it's got us to today. I feel that was really long-winded answer to your short question.
No, it was perfect. And, I think to Brian Scudamore at 1-800-GOT-JUNK talks about willing to fail. You've got to be able to take those risks and maybe make mistakes here and there to get better. So, yeah, I always appreciate when people are willing to share that. The other thing, Carla, I kind of want to stick with you because, again, going through your bio, you said you're a self-admitted introvert, which I found interesting because I am as well. And we were talking earlier about being part of the community and getting out there, and how does an introvert possibly run a successful franchise if you have to get out there and talk to people? How do you break out of your shell? How do you get yourself motivated to do it?
Right. Okay. So I think sometimes I really just force myself to jump, but that is way easier said than done. I also had an incredible mentor, I said, with my uncle, who got me into this franchise world, who he always did instill. He was an extrovert, by the way, not an introvert, but he always did instill in me that it's about working hard and caring for who you work with and who you work for. And really, that seems so simple, but it's very powerful. So he's not in business with me anymore, but he sits on my shoulder, whispering in my ear a lot, some of the things that I've done over the years. And as we already said, not successfully, but that's just the life of an entrepreneur and a business owner. So I talk about this one a lot because I have to teach our franchisees how important this is. So I kind of bring it down to maybe, I think, 6 steps to keep in mind when you're really kind of facing your fears as an introvert and diving into something like the purchase of a franchise. So first of all, I think it's number 1, identify what your fears are. So what are you really afraid of? And then realizing that, you know what, everyone has imposter syndrome. Everyone fails or is afraid of failing. And no matter how long, we've been in this business for a long time, right, Anike? I mean, we still have these things that probably creep into our minds every single day. So then as joining a franchisee, number 2, or becoming a franchisee, realize it's not about you. And this is what I really focused on when I was getting out there. I used the credibility of the Real Property Management brand. In the US, they were really large. When I bought my franchise in Canada, they were literally nothing. They were only a couple franchisees deep, but I used the credibility of what that US and what the brand of RPM was in order to really give me that confidence. So it's like my magic formula. I said the visibility plus credibility and profitability. So they gave me some credibility. I just needed to get out there and be visible. And then I focused on my why and why I really wanted to do this. I think that's number 3 that I always ask the franchisees is like, what's your why? Let that be your driving force, right? Make it a poster, make it your daily mantra, put it on your bathroom mirror, whatever it takes. You realize your fears, that's part of the mindset. And then this is the second part of the mindset part to keep it going. So mindset, I think, is a really big part of any kind of business. And then number 4, just take action. This is the jumping off the cliff, I guess, and be willing to learn, research, so you feel more confident about doing it. I mean, you have to come across confident, not overly confident, because people can see through that. But as an introvert, you're probably going to need to feel uncomfortable, and you're probably going to need to use all of your energy to get out there and get into different networking situations. So, and then it's that consistency, number 5. When you're trying to build your network, especially as an introvert, when it's hard, it does become easier over time, but it's proven. Like, as an introvert, when you go to these functions, it takes every piece of energy that you have. If you're an extrovert, it gives you a lot of energy. So for me, I knew that I had to show up. So I would plan my day accordingly. And I probably overdid it because I was just like, I have to do this. So, 3 or 4 weekday evenings, I would plan to get involved in different business association events because that's where I thought my target was. So I kind of fine-tuned that part of it. And then I would work all day, the day-to-day parts of it. As you said earlier, Patrick, you're kind of like doing everything. You're the CEO, you're the secretary, you're the janitor, you're it all. And then I would go to these events. As an introvert, you never go too early. You always go on time when it starts. And then you're probably going to leave right when it's done, but that's okay. It was just being there so that people started to relate. Carla Brown, Real Property Management, Carla Brown, Real Property Management. And that's all I needed them to do. And then once you gain some traction there, you can kind of back away. As an introvert, you don't always have to be there. Once you get some money underneath you, then you can hire somebody to be that person if you don't want to, which I do. In my own franchise, I actually have hired somebody to do some business development for me. So it's work. And then I guess the sixth thing that I would say is realize that you have a support team. And we've talked about this one already for a little bit, that it's your franchisor and your franchise network. Let them be your support network. Don't join a franchise and never engage and never do their training and never show up to the events that they have. Attend everything you can and learn everything that they have proven to be successful. They're the ones that have already failed. Trust me, that's how they built their systems. Every single franchise I've ever talked to, that's how they built their systems. So implement everything that they give you, or at least give it a try to see if you can make it work, and then meet the other franchisees. There's so much power in this community, and don't think that they're competitors. They're competitive. Don't get me wrong. We're all competitive in this thing we call business, but they're not your competitors. They're actually a community that's there to support you as well. So, and I think, I can't remember if it was yourself, Patrick, or Anike that already alluded to this, that franchising, it's that being in business for yourself, but never by yourself. And that's what you really have to realize. So, and then, with that support team, if you're a prospective franchisee looking at different franchise organizations, talk to that home office, find out, if they fit culturally for you, learn about them, talk to them. How do they make you feel? What are their core values? These things are really so important. You are making a commitment to be in a business relationship. This is like, a marriage, for lack of better ways of analogies of trying to put it out there. You're going to be with each other for a long time. So you got to like each other. You got to feel like there's a fit. And I think that's really important when I speak to prospective franchisees, is that, if you don't feel like this is a good fit for you, you shouldn't really move forward, because and it has to be on both sides. I'll say the same thing if I don't think that they're a good fit for us as well, because they have to fit with everything else we've got going on. So we want our offices to succeed as much as they do. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I love your 6 steps. It's great. The one thing that really stands out to me, and I get this question a lot, is around, well, can't I just hire someone to do it like you have now? And I'll say, using your steps, not till you understand the why, you're actioning it consistently. If you get there and you're doing it, now you want to hand it off, I'm okay with that. But until you get there, not yet.
100% agree with you. Yeah.
No, it's great. Anike, we were just talking about finding that right fit and making sure that you're bringing on the right partners and the partner has that right mentality. What advice would you have? What does a partner need to know? Be prepared if they're looking at joining a franchise system. What's the biggest advice you'd give them to be prepared for?
Well, as Carla say, use them. Talk with them. Use what they have. Go meet them. Have their training. There's there for you guys. And she's right too. You need to find the brand for your market. So you need to know your business first. You need to know what you're looking for. What kind of hotel do you have? What kind of market do you have? What kind of business you want to run also. And you need to really know your business and what you want, your value, and then go and meet with them and make sure that you're going to use them. You're going to use everything that they have to learn and to grow with them. And also, you can choose any brand you want, but there's a part of you who needs to do the work too. So it's why you need to walk in your community, walk in your front desk, walk in your breakfast room, say hi to guests, talk with them. So there's a part that you need to work also. But yeah, it's kind of, you need to find the right fit. You need to find the right fit for what kind of hotel you want, what kind of hotel markets do you have to. So yeah, it's Carla say everything.
And what I heard there, it starts with finding that right fit. You find that right fit, be prepared to do the work. Full advantage of the support that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's and you know, you need to know your business first. And I always said you need to find why you're doing that, why you're doing this kind of business. And it can be only one sentence who's gonna say everything. Then guests can relate to, you can relate to, the staff can relate to, but it's the meaning of what you want for your business, because every business need a mission. We're all in the hospitality industry. We all sales room. But you need to find exactly why you're doing that and what's your mission for your business. So then everybody can come on board, and some brands gonna fit more with your kind of mission too. So yeah.
And that's so funny because a lot of people will say that they want to open up a business because for the money.
Oh, it's fun. It's gonna be fun.
Well, it can be fun, but it's a lot of work. But it's usually not about the money. When you dig in, it is not about the money. And when I said, like, when I could see Anike like totally agreeing when I said that, like, get your mantra, like put it somewhere, put it on your bathroom wall. Like these things like are so important. Once you figure out what your why is, don't lose focus of it, because you need that focus on the bad days, and then you really need to focus on the good days as well. But it really does come down to that. And if you stick to that, I think you'll always be true in business, and then you won't allow yourself to make make, I guess, not mistakes, but make things that you wouldn't have done, or maybe make a decision just based on that moment in time, and it maybe was based on money. If you always keep that why in focus, you'll make good business decisions.
Exactly.
Totally agree. You find that why, and it's your guiding light for all your core values and the reason you do the things you do.
100%.
Yeah.
Love it. Carla, Anike, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today and joining us and sharing some wisdom. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to meeting you guys in person.
Yeah.